In my last LEGO City update, I lied to you. After I was finished making this layout for the downtown core, I said, now it's time to move on to details. But here today, I'm going to change the modular layout again. It's something that's going to take a little bit of time to perfect, just because there's a lot of different ideas. It's a huge space and unlimited combinations. But today specifically, I want to shift some things around and also reposition this canal so that it better fits the downtown core here. Most of these ideas that I have today were sparked by either the comment section or just by me sleeping on it and thinking about the layout. The layout that we have is pretty cool, but I want to reposition something, and that is the Central Park. I just don't think it's going to work there. Some people told me to put the town hall behind the Central Park, and I think that's a great idea. The problem is where it's located right now, there's not enough space to do that. So what I'm going to do is actually shift over both of the Pop Culture Street blocks. So the one with the Avengers Tower, the massive Daily Bugle, the police station, I shifted that over an entire city block. And then I also shifted the other block over as well. That's the one with the Ghostbusters HQ, the SIT complex, also Diagon Alley, and some other modular buildings. In order to do that, I had to clear an entire city block. So now I've got to find a new home for all of those modular buildings, but that was sort of like the remnants of everything left over. And with that space open, I can now shift over the Central Park, and I can also relocate the town hall. I do think it makes sense to put the town hall behind Central Park. That makes sense for sure. I agree with that. And that was actually sparked from the comment section. It's definitely a positive change. And when I saw those comments suggesting that, I was like, okay, that's a really good idea. I may as well do that. Something else that I want to do is actually straighten the canal. So now that the town hall is gone, I'm able to put those blue base plates in a straight line after I shifted them over one base plate. But then it's the domino effect. Everything needs to change. And you can see that I've decided to put those modular buildings going around that access hole. So it sort of blocks the access hole. I think that's a fantastic idea because the canal is running right beside the access hole. There's one base plate there. So I'm able to put the Natural History Museum and a few other modular buildings. So it's almost like the boardwalk on either side of the canal is going to be right against those really cool modular buildings. But now I have that huge space in the front there where Town Hall was. So I've got to fill that with different modular buildings as well. So I've put the brick bank there, also the double jazz club, but that space is sort of awkward. It's 2.5 base plates wide. So it's like, what am I going to do with 2.5 base plates wide? It's a bit strange. Also, there's some other awkward spaces over there in the center where I'm currently working, and I've got the large corner garage, the construction site, the Grand Emporium, the double bookshop, and some of the other like remocks that I've created using other sets such as the police station and the LEGO City downtown set. There's just like some awkward spaces and they're becoming a little bit difficult to fill. I know I'll never like perfect this layout until I actually start working on the road plates, the canal plates, everything like that. Because the canal isn't going to be 32 studs. Like I've got to build the actual walkways on either side of it. And the road plates aren't going to be like sporadically random bicycle lanes and random green patches. Everything is going to make sense like my existing city did. But it's just a matter of getting there. And there's that road plate that's up against the canal there by the construction site. It's like, okay, well, that no longer needs to be there. I can just expand this block out, and then the pedestrian walkway on the canal will avoid that need for the road. But then there's like this awkward road, which is currently by the Central Park. It doesn't really make sense. Also, the road that's in front of the downtown diner in Assembly Square is like offset half a base plate. That's why that weird spot there is actually 2.5 base plates wide. Yeah, I could move that over, but then I'm gonna have 1.5 base plates by the access point. And because that road is offset, it's not lining up with the road on the front right block there with the boutique hotel and the university. So it's not lining up with that perfectly. So I'll have to make some sort of weird bridge going over top of the canal. And there's just so many things like that that don't really add up or make sense. But I think it's just a matter of getting a layout and then working on it like I was hoping I would start today. But then I, had all these ideas and I was like, okay, well now I'm going to completely change it. So I want to get to the point where I'm actually starting to add details. For example, like making those water plates look good and making the train track look good and making these roads make sense, but there's just too many different combinations that we can do this in. And I still want to add like a raised platform somewhere in this section and start raising up my modular buildings, even if it's not a platform. If the ones going toward the mountain range, say on the left side there by the zoo, even if they're like 2 or 3 or 4 bricks taller than the other ones, I think that'd be pretty cool, because then I can get some roads going up at like slight angles, and we can start to get some sort of hills and stuff in the city. But first I need to like nail down some sort of design here so that I can actually start constructing my Lego city and making it highly detailed. That's the goal. I want to get some sort of plan so that I can start working on details. Okay, maybe this is better. Maybe it's a little bit better, right? This is that awkward block that I was talking about. That's 2.5 base plates. So ideally, I would just shift this road that way, and then that road would line up with this road, because for some reason right now, they don't line up. But what I decided to do was actually just take the half base plate and like, okay, well, maybe we can make this some sort of really neat walkway. So that's what I did. It's a walkway that's from the existing city there, and that can lead into this area, which will be a farmer's market right on the canal. I think that's a good spot for the farmer's market, and also a great spot for the Spring Lantern Festival right beside the canal, and also pretty close to the beach. So I think that actually works pretty good. I love the modular buildings flanking the access hole. I did that in my previous layouts, and just does a great job of hiding the access hole. You can't really tell that it's there. And I like the fact that the modular buildings are just sitting right up against the water. I think that's really cool. Another positive change, I think, is the fact that we actually have some taller buildings here. Originally, I said I want all the skyscrapers to be back there, but I think it actually makes sense to have 1 or 2 taller buildings here. The taller buildings being this one, which actually used to wrap around the telebeam in my basement. So what I've got to do is take that one and turn it into an actual skyscraper, give it a full base plate, and then that will look pretty cool there beside the construction site. So it's almost like they're in the works of building another one, and these properties are really high value, like penthouses or apartments that are right on the water here in the downtown core. So I think that's really neat. I'm not a huge fan of the university here. The problem is I'm lacking corner buildings. I would much prefer to have, say, the Grand Emporium, and also, I don't know, the Palace Cinema there. Those would probably look better. Maybe I should just move the Grand Emporium and the Palace Cinema there, and that would look better than the university, because it doesn't really make sense to have that beside the fire brigade. That doesn't make sense at all. So maybe I need to move those 2 there, but the problem is then I'm taking 2 corner builds from that block down there, and I need more corner builds for those blocks. So if I move something, it's sort of like give and take. This one I can sort of make like a double corner because it's 1.5 base plates and there's a half base plate open there, but I can make some sort of courtyard for the university. Maybe in the end, the building that has to move is the fire brigade. Maybe the fire brigade needs to go back over there or something, and then there's a block that actually has the double bookshop, and I could put the double bookshop over here because it's right beside the university, and maybe that makes sense. But then there's also the hotel here. Maybe the hotel needs to move. So there's so many different things that I could do. Maybe the hotel, for example, needs to go over here, but then once again, it's a double corner. So it doesn't make sense because this is, once again, 2.5 base plates. So there's just like so many things that go through my mind, and I know I could do this on a digital design software, or I could do it on like Excel, but even when you do it on Excel, sometimes you just, you don't get the right vision, you don't get the right sense of scale, because you're looking at this picture that's this big on a computer screen when you're actually dealing with this space that is massive. So I like physically doing it. I'm sort of like a visual person that enjoys looking at the stuff and moving it and moving them around, and just sort of trial and error, going through the process in a trial and error basis. For example, I put the corner garage beside a different building, but the corner garage is really tall, so you want it to go beside a tall building so that it covers up that dark orange wall. So I decided to put the Grand Emporium on the back side of it to try and cover up that dark orange wall. Also, it needs to be in a corner where there's road because there's a pull through for the gas station. So you're limited, I'm limited where I can put this based on the fact that it can't go in this corner because it needs road on both sides, and you're not going to put it beside a bridge that's going to go over a canal. That doesn't make any sense. Same with the Octane gas station. It needs road on both sides of it, so there's an actual pull through. And then it's like, okay, well, where's that going to go? And what's this road doing here? It's going to nowhere. It's going nowhere. I was thinking what I should do is maybe make this a parking lot, because then you can come in, you can pull in, you can get gas, or you can park in here. But will that change in the future? Should I commit to building a parking lot right now? Probably not, because there might be some other ideas that come out of the woodworks and change that. And this is just part of the process that I'm almost like forgetting, because it's been a long time since I've started from scratch with a Lego city layout, and it's all just part of the creative process. I think this is like 3 or 4 days now of shifting the style of stuff around. I do think that the Central Park is better here. It used to be here on this block. The problem is I couldn't fit the town hall behind it because, well, it was right up against an access hole. So there was only one base plate of space, so it makes sense to have it here. I still left that base plate of space out front of the town hall, so I can still make an extension of the town square in front of it, and then it makes sense that we have Central Park, town square, town hall. So I do like that, and I also like the fact that Pop Culture Street is now longer, so I can fit more buildings on this stretch. I'm not a huge fan of some of the positions of them, but they can change. I do like the fact that the, Sesame Street is back on Pop Culture Street, so I do like that. But I'm not a huge fan of these two there, like what is City Press doing there, and also the cozy houses. It doesn't make sense. I was just trying to fill the spot. And then over here, we've got this block. This block has remained the same. It's just got shifted over, and then we'll have the train station, and we will transition into the residential area. Maybe what I should do is I should make my residential area the angled area. I've got the space. All I've got to do is just remove that, and then turn this maybe like 45 degrees or 30 degrees or 25 degrees or whatever it may be, and make this one the angled one. Put an angled road there, connect it. But then you're gobbling up a lot of space, and that's why I've always gotten away from doing angled roads and stuff, because as soon as I take this road and I angle it, I lose a tremendous amount of space for buildings. And that's why I've always gone with the grid. I know we have a tremendous amount of space that we can use for this layout, but I'm scared that if I put an angled road in here, well, now my downtown core, it's not going to be here. It's going to be stretched all the way out to here because I have so many bloody modular buildings. So I'm going to gobble up this whole space. As soon as I start throwing 1 or 2 or 3 angled roads in here, this whole section is gone. Like, it is gone. There's no room for expansion at all. I'm thinking the angled roads and those unique style things are going to be better to do on my countryside side because we're going to have a lot more space for over here, and I think I can get away with doing like gravel roads angled, and I can do a lot more interesting weaving, winding trails and roads and creeks and interesting things like that. As soon as I start throwing or breaking the grid over there, we're going to lose a tremendous amount of space. I am more so leaning toward the canal. I think that's a nice change from the previous layout that I had. I think that is fabulous. Great idea there. And I am leaning toward starting the elevation, probably immediately after Town Hall. I don't know if I want to raise up Town Hall. Maybe I could raise up Town Hall 2 bricks, but I'd probably like to start it there. Also, the buildings going around the canal, for example, this series of buildings right there, they could be raised up 2 bricks quite easily. You just have to increase the height of the pedestrian walkway going around there. So I could start to raise these up, and maybe that's where the elevation changes. Now, what I don't want to do when it comes to raising up buildings is modify the mills plates that they sit on. For example, this building right here is supported by 2 bricks rather than 1 right on the mills plate. See that? The issue is that sort of pigeonholes you. So if I were to take all of these buildings and spend the entire day and use all of the parts to raise those up on the actual mills plate. Well, now when I want to move, I'm like, oh, you know what? I don't like the position of that donut cafe there. I think the donut cafe should go over here and that should go over there. Well, now I've got to make this switch. So I've got to come up with a system using bricks and tiles or something, and like a base plate, a brick and a tile, and make podiums for everything that you can just put it on, or construct something out of wood like I've done in the past. Find some melamine that's the exact thickness of a brick and then cut wood and put it on a raised platform. But I'd prefer to go the Lego route, but I've just got to process how I'm going to do that. But I am leaning toward putting a raised section starting probably back there so we can start going up toward the mountain. The problem is as soon as I do that, if I raise this up, then everything has to go up. And if I'm going to go the Lego route, well, it's going to use a tremendous amount of pieces. So I've got to sort of think to myself, am I going to do it with wood? Am I going to do it with Lego? How am I going to do that? Where is it going to start? So on and so forth. In the past, I've only done like the raised platforms. I know for a fact, like where we have those platform coverings, I know for a fact that we're going to start going up from there. Like 100%, we're going to start going up as soon as we hit those platform coverings drastically. We're going to go up like elevation high. I know that, but I'm just trying to figure out how I'm going to work the elevation change down here because I'm not used to doing things like that. So there's a lot to think about. I know I'll jump that hurdle and I'll manage to figure it out, but I've just got to try and mentally figure out how I'm going to do that. Yeah, we could even like raise up the entire zoo if I so choose. I could even start adding elevation within the zoo. I could raise some of the attractions, change the attractions. I could, you know, blow that whole thing up and rebuild the whole thing, and we could build so it's sort of like built into the mountain, sort of like how it was. Like the aviary was built into a mountain, but maybe it needs to be more extreme. Maybe the whole zoo needs to be, you know, changing elevation and everything. So yeah, this is what I'm saying, that I just need to start working on details now because there's so many ideas and so many different things that I could do, but I just need to start doing it. And the other day when I was at the Lego store, it was actually earlier today, I just keep on working, why not? It's the weekend, that's what we're meant to do here, work. The other day, or today I was at the Lego store and I bought a bunch of these. So I'm gonna start working on the Canal here. And no, this is not gonna be 32 studs. It's probably only gonna be like that much. I'm planning on doing a boardwalk right here too. So there's gonna be lots of walking space for minifigs and minifig storytelling. Also, somebody was actually multiple people have been telling me to move this back a base plate. So I'm gonna do that too. I think that's a great idea. I don't know if it needs to be an entire base plate, but maybe half a base plate. I've got this down here too, which is a parking lot, which I would like to put by the beach. So I think I'm gonna take care of that right now. Pretty easy to make this modification. Just remove that strip of green base plates, slide back the entire module, which pretty much is one solid unit. Now I'm gonna grab the blue base plates from the Canal and swap them up with the green ones. They don't really need to be blue, so may as well make that change. But there we go, we've got some more water for the beach. I think that makes sense. We can add more like surfers, maybe some small boats, and just sort of tell more stories with the 32 additional studs. Decided to go with 32 rather than 16, whatever. We have the space and I think it looks awesome in front of the city there. Not too bad. Did you see my vacuum going there too? It's helping out. I forgot to mention the fact that I still don't know where to put my hospital. It's got that drive-through, so it needs roads on either side. I still don't know where to put that in this layout. And then there's the imagination station as well. I wanted to build that for a while. I think it's cool, spiral, multiple different colors, all different colors. I thought it was cool. I just don't know where to put that either. And then there's these roads over here by the corner garage and also the Central Park. I'm not too happy with those, not sure what to do because they run into the canal, which I've switched to green because the color of those plates does not matter. The only color of the plates that matters is if they're on the edge, because then you see the blue base plate underneath the overlying plate. But yeah, I don't know what to do with this road here. I don't really want to get rid of it and slide these buildings up against it just because the sidewalk is only like 6 studs and it's just not much sidewalk at all. I think it just needs to, you know, it needs more space than just the modular building sidewalk. I don't know why, I just don't like using just that for the sidewalk. I like extending it with at least 2 studs. I guess I could do something with the central park, but then I'd have to change the whole central park just to have, or just to accommodate this road plate segment here. So I don't really know exactly what to do with this segment of road at this point, just because the canal, I don't know what to do. It's a little bit complex. Now, what I decided to do was actually go through and pull all of the parts that I need for starting construction. So right here, we've got a huge amount of black plate. Also, all of the 3x3 dark blue plates that I got from the Lego store. And then all of my blue plate that I currently have. All different shades of blue. There's even some turquoise in there. And that's all the stuff that I use to create this effect with the water. Luckily for me, it's getting deeper as we go this way, and we've already transitioned into blue, which I have a lot of, so I can use blue and then dark blue and then the black, which I have the most of. Like, I've got a ton of black plates. So when we get over here, the majority of it is going to be dark blue and black, which thankfully I have a lot of because of the pad wall, and just my collection of black plate is ridiculous. So I should have enough to treat all of this water, and the boatyard that's going to be over here too is also going to be deep because there's going to be large vessels, so it's literally going to be all dark blue and black. So I should have enough to do that. One thing I will not have enough of is the trans blue 1x2 tiles. I do have some dark blue 1x4 tiles, a bunch of them upstairs because I found them on the pad wall. Maybe I can transition into using dark blue tiles as we get deeper. Because right now it's just the trans light blue, but maybe transitions into trans dark blue. Also, I've got to rip this apart and rebuild this, which I'm sad about because I think it looks so good, but this has definitely got to change. The water is going where water should not go. So essentially this lighthouse just has to shift forward, maybe go somewhere over here, and then I can reuse all of those parts to create the water and some of the rough rock edge here, which will separate the beach from the boatyard, because I want to have a nice clean separation there as well. In addition to all of the parts that I accumulated here for the water, I have pulled out all my train track parts. So this is the dark gray train track that I've been referring to for a while. I'm going to switch out all of these ballast tracks for the dark gray stuff. So I'm going to make this all nice, clean, tiled train track, and I'm going to get away from the ballast, and then I'm going to reallocate all of this ballast train track to the countryside line, because that's going to be countryside. That's where you'd actually find ballast train track. And I'm also going to reallocate it to the train yard as well. And then all of the stuff in the city and going around the amusement park is all going to be clean, tiled off, whether it be light or dark gray. But at least I have all this ballast track made. I'll just have to redo it all so that it better fits wherever I'm going to put it over here. So I'm ready to start that process, but I'm going to start that process tomorrow, which for me is Sunday. But there you go. I've got all the parts ready to go. I love these tables being so high, because now when I go to build this, well, guess what? All I have to do is pull all the parts down here and just build away, because it's pretty much at like standing height. So I can just stand here and build it right on site. And also with this new table layout, I can walk around this 360 degrees. So if I'm working on something way over here, well, then all I need to do is get a cart on wheels, which I plan to do, or a table on wheels, which I already have, and I wheel those parts over there, and I work on tiling off the amusement park line over, or amusement park area right here, or whatever it may be. So at least there's that. If I'm working on specific projects, I can easily access them, and that is just one of the huge positives of this new table layout in this massive studio. I'm like grinning ear to ear. Oh, it's such a delight being here, but I also have to make sure that I'm home with my kids and family. I can't spend the entire day here every day, you know what I mean? Like, it's Saturday, I should be at home playing with my kids in the sun, so I shouldn't start this project. I should probably do that tomorrow. promise to you that I will not lie to you again. I will not reshuffle this all again in another video. I will for sure be working on details. I already have the parts ready to go. I'm now happy with this layout. I think this layout is better. Took a couple days to get there, but we're gonna have a pretty sick looking canal. Look at that. You can see the depth too. You can see like the Bugle and the Avengers Tower in the background, and you can look down the canal, and you get little river boats and stuff in there. So there's a great like POV perspective everywhere, especially when I get those mountains built and we get some elevation going. There's just gonna be like some sick sight lines. Oh, I just want it to be done tomorrow, but this is gonna be a process that's gonna take so long. I'm sort of the person that wants everything done overnight, but my gosh, this is a huge undertaking, bigger than I originally, no, I shouldn't say bigger than I originally anticipated, but it's a big one. It's gonna be epic though. Hey, thank you so much for coming on by. Please remember to like, subscribe, and stay tuned. Farewell.